asked me to be in the wedding, and everybody was supposed to wear it in the wedding party. All the males were supposed to wear smoking jackets. And my mother lived in England, and I was over in England, and I was coming back for the wedding, and I was like, well, I don't need to get a smoking jacket. I have one over there. So I brought it back with me. And we all line up to take the pictures, and my smoking jacket's green, and everybody else's was red. And she just goes, oh, God damn it, George. So for a long time, I was her favorite worthless nephew. I hope I'm still her favorite nephew, but slightly more worthwhile. I'd like to focus on these two nonprofit organizations, the Downstream project that I founded 7 years ago, and the Piedmont Environmental Council that I now co-chair. They're very different in some ways, but similar in others. PEC is far from a startup anymore. In fact, I think anybody familiar with the American Land Trust landscape has heard of PEC. We're considered one of the few big dog land trusts in the nation, having been around since the early 70s. PEC is well known enough now that we were asked for our input on the thoughts behind the rules instigated by the front page news stories about the Nature Conservancy and their conservation easement practices back maybe 10 years ago. And I'm having a little trouble here, hold on. Oh, there we go. In fact, we helped the Land Trust Alliance come up with some of the rules that were instigated by all that, including the accreditation process that any land trust holding easements now has to go through. We were one of the first organizations to go through that process, and we've just submitted our renewal application because you have to go through the process again every 5 years. Downstream, on the other hand, is young, only 7 years old. I founded it to be a nonprofit that people could donate to in order to help finance a high-definition, broadcast-quality documentary film about the history and present status of the Shenandoah River in 2008. That didn't work out so well, though. I mean, the film was great, but as far as funding goes, understandably, everybody wanted to see what the finished piece was going to look like before they ponied up any dough. Our family foundation provided us some seed money to get it started, but I remember when I came to the next foundation meeting, Maggie pulled me aside just before it started and said, George, I want you to know that our foundation is not in the business of funding documentaries. Talk about tough love. It was sort of a classic chicken and the egg deal, and so to keep the egg off my face, I ended up financing the rest of it myself. It was a success. It was a success, but I wasn't sure what to do next. Obviously, documentaries weren't in the cards. They were too expensive. But I found that most of the partner organizations we worked with up and down the Shenandoah Valley, they all really needed help with their web presence. Most of these small land and water watchdog nonprofits had pretty dismal websites if they had them at all, and many had no idea how to market themselves through video shorts or social media. Since we already had great video capabilities, and our executive director, Mr. William Howard, had been involved with computers for 25 years and understood marketing and social media, it was an obvious niche for us. We partnered first with NRCS, the National Resource Conservation Service, and made them 2 30-minute films about soil quality best practices. One was about the importance of both rotational grazing and crop rotation, and the other was about soil health. They produced 1,000 copies of each one and gave them out, and they've now gone through several editions. They're still giving them out. We've also worked with the Goose Creek Association, the Friends of the Shenandoah River, the Valley Conservation Council, and many others. All of these groups have experienced a growth from our help, and obviously it's helped us grow too. We work from a fee-for-service model. Our usual formula is to charge 75% of the cost of the project and donate back 25%. We then got involved with a local partnership in Clark County, Virginia, Trout Unlimited, the Friends of the Shenandoah, and others. We created the website pictured above, and it's an ongoing project with a video journal included. I'd like to show you a short video from one of the journal segments. It's an interesting piece about stream bank restoration, and there is some neat footage in it from our downstream drone, Pegasus.